God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's no public comment period. The first thing we have to do is something we really like doing is an employee recognition. And Joey Bartlett, Water Distribution System Operator. Will you and Derek please come forward?
Out into the center. Sure.
Thank you, sir.
We all don't know, this is Derek Simmons. He's the head of our water distribution system. He knows every line and every valve. So, if you have a question, call Derek. We're real excited about this. We'd love for people to get that certification. And I'll read it to you. It says, Board of State of Georgia, Board of Examiners, Certification of Water and Wastewater Treatment Plant Operators and Laboratory Analysts certifies that Joseph Allen Barton, having given satisfactory evidence of the necessary qualifications as required by the laws of the state of Georgia, has been duly certified as a water distribution operator in the state of Georgia, dated the 17th day of February 2022. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
You want to say a couple of words about this two fellows?
Well, sure. One of the things Derek always tries to do is hire somebody that knows how to work first. They can take a test later, but all of his guys end up getting the test taken and they know what they're doing. So Joey's come to us after a few years with Woodrow Sapp and hit the ground running when he got here. It's been a great asset for us, and now he's got this license. He can start going on call. So,
Yes.
and I've spread the work around a little easier.
Yes.
So, but Derek's crews do a great job. They work hard, and they go home dirtier than sewer guys do most of the time. So.
Enjoy how long you were working with us.
About a year and a half now.
You like it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I worked with Woodrow Sapp almost 20 years.
Okay.
But I just felt like they were changing, and I felt like I needed to change a little bit. So,
Okay.
but I really, to be honest with you, I hadn't had as good benefits or anything my whole life as what I do working here.
Good. You never seen my house in?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you, cottage one?
Well, we're glad you're here.
I think you was having some stuff done around back, and I was around there
Yeah.
trying to figure out where the more water lines were.
Where your water lines are.
May I
May
add something?
Uh-huh.
I've had the opportunity to work with Derek and his team several times as a customer on the opposite side of stuff, and they take great care of us. And I'll tell you that Derek, even as superintendent, is always right there in the hole with the guys. I mean, I've seen him just cover with stuff, leading his team. I mean, as a customer, I really appreciate the work that y'all do for us. But y'all certainly serve the hospital, tremendously on several occasions. Thank you.
See, they didn't have all the water from GWP every year, too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good, very good.
Thank you.
Check on the phone.
Yeah, hold up your, there we go, thank you, Dave. Perfect, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Joey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's always the highlight of our meetings, is when we give a certificate to an employee that we have. We'll go to the committee updates. Yesterday, we had a facilities committee meeting, and we had good news in that all three plants are working well within permit. The Academy Creek is operating at only 43% of its capacity right now. It's been kind of dry. Dunbar Creek is at 73% capacity, and Southport is at 25% capacity. We also have 10 projects that we were shown photographs of that are under construction. And the good news is Academy Creek is about 70% complete. Pretty soon the odor control equipment will be installed. And also at Dunbar Creek, the design build on that has had a kickoff meeting. So we'll have both of our main plants being worked on this year, with Academy Creek being finished, and Dunbar Creek should be finished sometime early next year. We also approved a contract award for engineering services for upgrading 3 pump stations that will be presented to the full commission today for approval. We also approved 2 change orders. Those are final summary change orders, and both of them, the projects came in underneath the budget, which is always a good thing. And then we had another infrastructure dedication from the Stroud organization over behind Magnolia Manor over on the island. And we also recommended that we enter into an intergovernmental lease agreement with the Glynn County for the former animal controls facility. And mainly that's to store the meters that we have on our ongoing meter process. We don't have storage space for those. And we're taking those meters ahead of time to prevent the huge price increase we would have if we waited to get them later. So it's going to save us some money. We appreciate the county working with us on that. That's my report. We also had a facilities committee meeting yesterday, and I'd like to ask Commissioner Duncan to give a report on that meeting.
On the Finance Committee, there were a number of items that we approved to pass to the full commission today for review and approval. I won't go over to those. We'll talk about those in a minute. I do want to draw attention to 2 items with regard to the utilities finances. Overall, we are executing according to plan. We're slightly above budget on revenues and just very slightly under budget on expenses. So as we begin to close in on the last quarter of the fiscal year, we are very, very close to executing on target. Then the other item I want to draw attention to from a finance standpoint for our $67 million construction plan through this year, or I should say through this last reporting period, we've invested, last year was some 21 million of that 67, and this year we have invested thus far a little bit, well, I should say 35 million to date. We have encumbrances of about 15 million. So all those projects are on track and closing in on the final operation and commissioning of those facilities. So that completes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We'll move to the approval section of the meeting agenda. First item is minutes from January 20th, 2022 regular meeting. Can I have a motion to approve?
Minutes as presented.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Next item is minutes from the January 19th, 2022 Commissioners' Workshop.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve those minutes.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor. Motion carries. Next item is contract award engineering services for pump stations 3101, pump station 4001, and pump station 4002 upgrades. Mr. Burrows.
Yes, sir. We have 3 pump stations that you just listed. Pump station 3101 is on Southport Parkway, near the, well, I guess there's an AT&T building right there, if you know where that is, near the schools. There's pump station 4001 and 4002 are in downtown Brunswick. There are 3 pump stations that were listed and needing immediate electrical upgrades during the master planning process, and so they are on this list for upgrades. These engineering services are going out. We'll do electrical upgrades. We'll do some piping improvements, valve improvements, and also look at odor control where necessary on these locations. We had 6 proposals submitted to us on Tuesday the 25th, 3 people scored these proposals, some member of operations, engineering, and senior leadership. The highest scoring proposal was from Kimley Horn and Associates out of Jacksonville with an average score of 91. The total proposal cost is $160,000. That includes engineering and construction oversight and inspection. And the design time frame is 120 days.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission award contract for engineering services to Kimley Horn and Associates Incorporated in the amount of $160,000 for upgrades needed for pump stations 3101, 4001, and 4002.
Second motion.
There's a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, as a matter of clarification, isn't that a company called Kimberly Horn? Does that matter?
It's Kimley. It's
It's different than
Kimley
Kimberly Horn?
Right.
How about that? All right, sir. Thank you for that clarification.
And well, Ms. Roll, I'd like to just let you know that when we take bids on a project like that or we receive proposals, we don't award it necessarily to the low bidder for professional services. And so what we do, we evaluate the proposals, and Mr. Burrs assigns different staff members to evaluate the proposals, and they have a ranking system. One's on general experience of the firm, specific experience of proposed personnel, demonstrated understandings of project objective and scope, clarity of project timelines and deliverables, and then pricing. Each one of those are weighted, and so we come up with the highest rated one, and that's who we generally, they recommend award to. So that's how we go about that. So
But in this case, being that Kimberly Horn had the highest score, the 100% score in pricing, is that, I mean, that means.
They were the lowest price as well. That was not, the reason they were selected, but that was a factor in there, obviously, that they got full points on pricing.
Yeah, which is fair.
Right.
And what we're finding out now, and the reason we're doing it for 3 pump stations is we have a lot of different engineering firms working with us, and some of them, we're finding out some of them aren't meeting the schedule quite as much as others, and so hopefully by doing 3, we're saving, we only have to take out proposals one time, and hopefully this firm will be very good at completing this. They also completed they did in a timely manner all of the smoke testing and the sewer investigation on St. Simons, if y'all will remember, about 4 years ago, I think. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next item is the budget adjustment, project 702. Mr. Burrs.
Yes, sir. Project 702 is the North Mainland SPLOST project that is a 3-phase project. The final phases, which are underway now, is to reroute a force main from pump station 4110 on Harry Driggers to a gravity sewer connection on Ogden Drive off of Old Jessup. Pump station 4003 in the city of Brunswick was rehabbed under Project 703. Both of these were funded out of SPLOST 2016 revenues. Pump station 4003 rehab and gravity improvements has been completed. The project was completed for just under $2.3 million out of a total project budget of $3.3 million, leaving a little over $1 million unspent in that SPLOST project fund. Given that these are the same vintage of SPLOST, the request is to take the unspent funds from Project 703, the completed 4003 project, to go to cover the cost overruns in the 702 project, and to reduce our reserve, what we need to cover out of our reserves. So the projects will still, the SPLOST money is still being spent on what it is supposed to be spent on. We're just shifting it to the other project.
You don't require county approval or city approval for that?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve the reallocation of remaining SPLOST 2016 funds from project number 703 in the amount of $1,010,159.18 to project number 702.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
And that will officially close out Project 703 as well, so it will no longer show up on the project report next month.
Now, that's 703, that's pump station 4003?
That's correct.
And that's at the corner of
K Street in Newcastle.
Right
Right.
across from Brunswick Marina.
Right.
Next item is change order Bergen Woods, change order pump station 4016 final balance, and Mr. Klein.
Right, Commissioners, good afternoon. The next two items are going to be final adjusting change orders or summary change orders. Good news is both of these are showing that these projects, these large capital projects are closing out. But the best part is we're under budget, so we got some money left over at the end of the project. We do this to bring this forward to the commission so they can champion these projects being completed, see that we ended up fairly on the financial side, and then also this returns the remaining money back to the coffers for the next project. So, first project we're going to talk about is 2027, which is the 4116 rehab of pump station rehab. This is a safety complex pump station, we call it, so by the Glynn County Safety Complex. Brand new pump station essentially up there. The reduction you see there is in red, $15,750 that was not used, and this is due to one line item that was not used. The net balance of net difference of it is bypassing. The contractor was not required to do temporary bypassing. So there was another project we'll talk about in here in a minute that complements this one. The tie-ins and whatnot also were done in that project, so another reason for the reduction.
I move the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve change order number 2 and project closeout as described.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any questions?
I have a comment. One, Todd, is I'll try to repeat what you offered us yesterday, which I thought was an excellent explanation. As this was work that was not done, it did not mean that we changed the scope of the project. It was, as Todd had shared yesterday at the facilities meeting, that these were items that we negotiated pricing in advance in the event certain work had to be done that was beyond the original project scope. So we pre-negotiated the cost if those issues occurred, such that we would have those numbers locked in. As it turned out, we didn't have to execute that additional activity. So while we had budgeted those dollars, we didn't consume them. So that returns back to for use in other projects.
Any other?
Yeah, mine's just kind of a generic question. When we've got change orders and stuff that come through, in general question about comment, I'm trying to figure out how I want to ask the question on the contract. So recently, when the last SPLOST expired, the tax rate in Glynn County changed. So presumably, the original contract was based off a 7% tax rate, and now a 6% tax rate. So when they're doing a change order, one, we need to make sure that they're not still charging them the 7% tax rate because, just erroneously. And I've actually found some of mine that they're trying to do, and they're not trying to do it intentionally. It's just, you got a form, it doesn't change.
Right.
Nobody thinks about changing tax, but the tax has changed. But also, if the tax rate went up to 10%, theoretically they'd be coming and saying, hey, Glynn County made a change, it's 10%. Now we want a change order for the extra 3% tax on all the material. So theoretically, there should be a deductible change order, based off, because I'm sure our contracts have a clause about taxes changing. So when the taxes change up or down, theoretically that, that clause should apply. So are we looking at, when you get something like a $12 million contract, just doing napkin math, and assuming that it's, 1% tax rate, that's $120,000, and get 50% of that material, that's still a $60,000 change to a contract just based off the Glynn County changing the taxes. So I don't know how we're doing that. I don't know how we.
I'll be honest.
Something we're even looking at, or
I'll be honest. I don't think that's something we've even been looking at. I think it's a great idea. It's not something we've paid much attention to.
150 million going to the hospital, and we,
Yeah.
change orders come in, we've had to adjust that.
Right.
Yeah.
The SPLOST expired.
That's a great point.
When
Great
was the
point.
effective date of that change?
I don't know.
September 20.
When they buy the materials, it's not.
September what?
September
20.
21? No.
20.
September of 20.
So, if contractors, if they're paying the tax, that's one thing, but if they're just collecting for the tax and not paying it, that's something we should be entitled to.
Sure.
Anyhow, I dropped my dialogue, or diatribe,
Very good point.
something to look at.
Sure.
But if it's a unit price contract, I don't know that we can go back on that.
Well, I would argue that if Glynn County changed it to 10%, they'd be coming and saying, hey, you know, the terms of the county changed their methodology, and the contract probably allows for that. You know, they'd be saying, hey, you know, we gotta pay taxes on this. We couldn't anticipate that at the time. You owe us 3% because the tax changed to 10. So I'd argue, conversely, if the tax goes down, which is, you know, they're not paying the tax.
I understand what you're saying.
It's valid.
And I guarantee you, even the contract doesn't allow for it, they'd be in here looking for change order if the tax rate double. So it's something outside their control.
That's a good point.
And it's probably, you know, upwards of, it's definitely 7 or 6, 5 figures, might not be 6.
Right, especially on these large contracts, yes, sir.
Andrew, you can get with Charlie and figure out how we can maybe change our
Take a look at
wording
that,
on our
yeah.
general conditions if we can. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next item is change order, Bergen Woods offsite final balancing. Mr. Klein.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. And again, this is the same type of agenda item here. This is project 2007, Bergen Woods off-site force main improvements. So this is actually the force main that the pump station 4116 we just spoke about uses. And this is also a deductive change order. It's for items that, as Commissioner Duncan explained very well, items we did not use in the contract. And these items were negotiated ahead of time at the point that we awarded the contract, so it fixed those prices in the event we would need to use those for unforeseen services. This one is a net deduction of $24,911, and this will close this project out.
I will again offer a motion. I'll move the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve change order number 1 and the project closeout as described.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is infrastructure dedication, Oyster Grove. Mr. Klein.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. I'll scroll down here to this memo and the supporting documents. Scroll, here we go. Oops. There we go. Okay, Oyster Grove subdivision. This item is what we do at the end of a private development activity where the infrastructure that was installed in the ground is intended to be turned over for public ownership and operation. That is the case with Oyster Grove subdivision on St. Simons Island. Oyster Grove is located northwest behind Magnolia Manor on St. Simons. The developer installed the gravity sewer collection lines, the water distribution lines, and in this case also a small pump station that's going to serve this development. Everything's been completed, inspected along the way, and this is the dedication process to turn it over. It includes easements for the routing of the water and sewer. And as I'm speaking about this, I'll point out the record drawings that are part of the package. Location map, there's a little GIS shot there too. There's one sheet for record drawings for sewer system, and then there's also another sheet for the water system as well, and an off-site sewer system sheet as well. So we look forward to these lots having new homes built on them and bringing on new customers to our system. As part of the pump station document, you'll see there's a little, we get down here to the final plat. At the end of a development like this, the final action for the developer generally before they can sell lots is to final plat this lot with Glynn County. And what that does, that takes that one larger parcel and then officially divides it into each individual parcel that can then be sold to build homes on. And the pump station parcel is up here at the northeast top of the development. It's 50 by 50 site. Our operations folks were involved in the design and inspection of that system. No homes out there yet, but it's going to very soon have homes, I'm sure, out there. So this item is to dedicate not only the infrastructure, you'll see an infrastructure dedication document, that's the water lines, the sewer lines, and the pump station. Their engineer record assigns a value to that. If the board chooses to accept that, and the public ownership will take and capitalize that. And then also the easement documents, and then the parcel deed for the pump station.
Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve the described infrastructure and easements for public ownership.
Motion is second. Any questions?
I have a question. Is this a legal requirement that they turn this over to us? No. It's a practice?
They
Common
can
practice.
decide to keep it private, but then they're responsible for the operation and maintenance of the system that's in place.
Right.
So
Developers generally don't want to be in the water and sewer business.
we're in the water and sewer business and they are not,
Right.
so.
Okay.
Are those public right-of-ways too?
These will be public right-of-ways.
Yeah.
These will be public.
I mean, they're public streets too, though. Is that a public street?
Yes, sir.
Are there any covenants that in this development that would have any effect on our operations?
Not
To
that
my
I'm
knowledge.
aware of, not that I'm aware of. We'll have full access, per the easement documents that are recorded across private property. We'll have full access to do anything we need to do in the future. And then within the public right-of-way, we have access for our agreement with Glynn County to do anything needed.
One last question, is the pump station operational?
Pump station is operational, correct.
But not really in use at this point, right?
Not in use. There's no residential flow going to that station yet.
And with this development, the developer put in all the facilities. They're being dedicated to us, and we're gonna have 23 more customers on our system,
Absolutely.
and we'll be collecting tap fees from those customers.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
So it's a pretty good way to expand our system.
Very good way. Thank you.
All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is the intergovernmental lease agreement with Glynn County former animal control facility. Mr. Dominy and Ms. Roberts.
Trying to get you there.
Lots of pages.
There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned in your opening remarks today, yes, this is for the storage for the meter project. We're looking for some overflow storage. The county was very amenable to this arrangement because they said they don't want to leave a facility unoccupied. It's better for them if someone's in there, making sure it's secure, making sure that the utilities are staying in place. So we have crafted an intergovernmental lease, and the remaining language that was due yesterday had to do with the rent, and we have received late-breaking news. Whoops, I believe Mr. Klein might need his phone back.
That was a decoy.
It worked.
You didn't recognize the kid.
All right. So to read this into record, this is section 3, paragraph 1, that will replace the copy in your read-ahead there. This is, the JWSC will pay rent to the landlord equal to the amount of any and all utility costs and other premises carrying costs incurred by the property. JWSC shall place all utilities in its name and be responsible for all such expenses, but shall communicate and coordinate any such change in advance with the county. Quote, all utility costs, end quote, shall include but not be limited to electric, gas, water, sewer, solid waste collection, recycling, lawn and grounds maintenance, pest control, telephone, internet, or any like service, to the extent that it is not feasible to place a utility in JWSC's name, or the county, in its opinion, is not easily able or decides not to cancel or discontinue any such utility, service, or maintenance costs in its name. County shall invoice tenant on the 5th day of every month for each and every utility or service or maintenance cost incurred by the property in the previous month, provided, however, submission after the 5th shall not relieve JWSC from its obligation to pay such invoice. JWSC shall have 30 days to pay each aforementioned invoice. The parties agree that JWSC's payment of rent as set forth herein, as well as other mutual agreements contained within this intergovernmental lease agreement, shall constitute reasonable and adequate compensation in exchange for the JWSC's lease of the premises. If I may put that in layman terms instead of attorney's terms. JWSC will provide utilities and provide proof of those utilities to the county. JWSC will be paying those utilities. JWSC will provide liability insurance and proof of that liability insurance. And JWSC will provide any necessary maintenance as far as groundskeeping, pest control is concerned. There will not be other maintenance costs, or excuse me, other rental costs associated with the rental agreement. But if the county does incur related costs, the county will invoice JWSC at their cost.
So am I to understand
This
what
is an
you,
email that I just had.
Ms. Roberts?
Okay.
Am I to
How about if
understand?
I step out of your way?
Am I to understand that what you just read us is going to take the place of that first paragraph under item 3?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Just the first paragraph? Just that first paragraph?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, that was a mouthful compared to what this is.
Yes, sir.
So, one point of clarification, that you said that we're gonna pay the amount equal to the monthly utilities, and we're gonna transfer the monthly utilities in our name.
Assuming there are other utilities that the county chooses not to or cannot cancel for whatever reason, the county will be asking us to reimburse us,
So the
reimburse them
intention
for
is to
that.
put everything in our name, pay it directly.
Yes,
But
sir.
if for some reason one of those can't be done reasonably, we're gonna pay it direct, we're
There
gonna
you go.
reimburse at
Absolutely.
direct cost. What about, it also mentions carrying cost.
The carrying costs, I believe, they were looking at, there is still a liability insurance that the county will still have to pay on their half.
Does that include depreciation? During depreciation and?
No,
carrying
sir.
cost? Okay.
Depreciation was never mentioned in the conversation, no, sir.
Sounds like a better deal than the county got on the CVS building, but.
Well, you tried to, well, with all due respect,
too
Commissioner Neal,
deeply
you
into
wanted
that.
to buy that one, so.
I'll offer a motion so we can go to discussion. Hereby move the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve the intergovernmental lease agreement with Glynn County for the lease of the former animal control facility and authorize the chairman to execute the same.
I'll second the motion.
So in short, what we have to do is, basically, we have to pay for the use of the building, which is utilities, any maintenance that occurred due to our occupation, and thus also cover insurance on the building. So it's a pretty good deal there for us to be able to have the additional storage we need for the metering project to keep that one on track.
Yes, sir.
So to clarify, carrying costs do not include depreciation or mortgage.
That's correct.
And is the maintenance up to date so far
Yes, sir, it is.
before we take possession?
The county is actually doing a fairly extensive interior renovation of the building, and we've agreed to coexist with them as they're doing that. So it actually will be in better condition as we're occupying the property than it currently is now.
And I mean, I hadn't read it obviously because you just read it out loud, but I mean, if it's clear that it's not mortgage and depreciation, I'm totally good with it.
Yes, sir. This will be heard at the county's board meeting this evening. If you'd like for me to make that clarification and have them
Well, if it says.
read that into record. Understood.
I think it's a good thing for us to do, but I have one question still,
Yes, sir.
and I'd like for us to check. It won't affect what's going to happen, but in the contract with the contractor,
Yes, sir.
we need to make sure that it's not his responsibility to find storage facilities
Understood.
for his equipment. If he does, then he should be reimbursing us some of this cost we're going to be incurring.
Understood.
So if we would just check that out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I guess I was already assumed that we were responsible for that, but not. I mean, I personally hate storing material. I hate buying stuff in advance, but understanding the materials prices are going up.
That's right.
I
It was a
hope we're going up
trade-off.
a lot if we're going to, pay all the storage.
30% was the first round, and then they were anticipating another round of pricing increases in March. So
30% of what?
8 or 10 million?
30,000 meters, well,
Yeah, something
Yes, sir.
like that.
So-
Yeah. It's real
yes,
numbers.
sir. So this seemed to me to be a little bit better deal.
Now, the cost we're going to incur in this for the rent and everything, that's going to go against the project cost,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Against the project cost.
I have a question about security and having the meters there since they're such valuable assets here.
Yes, sir.
What are we doing about security? Are we going to be able to use the inside of the building for them, or?
The inside of the building is actually not feasible storage for us because the doorways are not wide enough to even get a pallet through, a 4-foot pallet. So what we're doing is we are actually working with Fletsy. Fletsy has some excess Connex boxes that they are willing to, I'll say, donate, for lack of a better term, to us for just the cost of actually moving those. And we're in the process of doing that paperwork with them now. So we're getting, I beg your pardon?
Exterior storage?
Yes, sir.
Why don't they put them in the Connex at Academy Creek?
We're running out of footprint.
We're out of footprint.
Right on footprint of Academy Creek.
Yes, we don't have no room there.
Yeah. It's hard to get a truck through Academy Creek right now.
In this particular facility, I don't know if you're familiar with the location or not, but it's very easy to get an 18-wheeler in and out of there. To speak further to Commissioner Cook's concern about security, there is a nice high fence. I don't remember if it's an 8-foot or 10-foot fence there at the front, rolling locking gate. As far as the connexes, obviously those would be locked as well. So we're talking about 2 stages of security before someone even reaches the inventory.
That's good, because if it's outside storage, utility costs by definition are 0.
That's our hope, yes, sir.
Just whatever the base is, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no water use, no electricity use,
Right.
vacant building.
Right.
Some lights on outside at night.
Right, I mean, that's.
Any exterior cameras on the outside?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of exterior cameras, but that's certainly something we could explore if the board believes those are necessary.
But all this talk about natural gas and all that stuff, I mean, that's.
Yes, sir.
That's a moot point, really.
What about the grounds maintenance? We have a.
That will be us, and
Can
I've
improve.
actually, yes, sir. Well, I've actually already spoken with Ms. Crosby about that. Her team, the procurement team, would be the one to do that. It will be a separate contract because the contract that exists already for that service, obviously, is JWSC Facilities, but she has agreed to assist us in procuring that service so that we're on the same schedule as the other facilities within JWSC. Same thing with pest control.
I think that maybe consideration of cameras may be important, because that's fairly remote at night. There's not a lot of traffic around there, and we don't certainly want to put that kind of equipment at risk, you know, that dollar amount of.
Understood completely. And Mr. Sellers and I have already exchanged a nod here in the room, so.
Does he have his ladder to install these cameras? Okay, good.
Well, generally, when we allow storage spaces like that, we make it clear to the contractor we're not responsible for.
Understood.
If they want additional security, they need to provide it.
Provide that for themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
So we need
That's
to
fair as
check
well.
on that too.
Yeah, very good point.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next item is Executive Director's update.
Speaking about the meter project, as of about 1:50 today, when I checked right before I came to this meeting, we've got 6,524 meters in the ground to date. So they're doing between the last 3 days they've done over 100 a day. So they're getting a lot of meters put in the ground. The annual State of the Port Luncheon is coming up on March the 9th. We will have a table. Any of the commissioners who'd like to sit at our table, please let me know and we will get you a spot reserved. And then update on the LIWAP program. We now have, as of Friday, 76 customers who have met eligibility requirements, and they have been approved for $66,336 in assistance to date. And that is as of Friday. I'm sure we've had more approved this week. So it's that program is going very well. And that is all I have today.
Commissioners' discussion. Any commissioners have anything you want to talk about?
I want to say one thing. Earlier, when Mr. Bartlett was talking about how good it was to work here and the benefits he was getting, I think that's a real important point, because we have some openings and we need some new employees, and the benefit package is really excellent. Pay scale is fair. There's pension, and there's a good health insurance with 3 different options. So I just want to throw that out, that what Mr. Bartlett said is something that people that would consider this for not only a job but potentially a career, it would be a good move, and we would certainly encourage anyone out there that has an interest, please apply for the position.
Absolutely.
For the multiple positions.
Multiple positions.
Yes.
Any other commissioners' comments? I'd like to just ask Andrew. Andrew, the SPLOST project coming from North Mainland South, are we at the 80% threshold on that now? Is it about 80% complete?
I'd say 80%. That's reasonable.
And
Yes,
when's
sir.
the completion date scheduled for that now?
Contract dates through the end of June. They've got to get they're a 100-ton drill rig to do 2 more shots, and they're hoping to get that freed up, I believe, in March. And then they'll get to the section on Ogden. So, once they get on Ogden, it won't take that long to get that done. It's just when they get all the materials here for that.
Okay, so 70%. Now, what's the total contract amounts for that?
That contract.
Whitaker Street, the pump stations. And
all of that?
Yes, it's about 15 million, isn't it?
It's 13.1, 13.2, something like that.
Okay. And then Academy Creek is about 70%, and that's going to be 12 million, 70%, correct?
Right. I'm hoping that when we get out of this meeting, I'm going to drive down there and I'm going to have one whole wastewater plant instead of 2 separate ones sitting beside each other. They were making tie-ins this morning, so anybody wants to see the excitement is welcome to join.
So that being said, our staff's been pretty busy this past year, but the good thing about it is the projects are finishing up, so we can get new projects going, and that's what we want to do because we do have some funds available. We always want to be considering extending sewer lines, repairing sewer lines, repairing water lines, extending water lines, building elevated tanks, and building wastewater treatment plants. That's the business we're in.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add, on those 2 SPLOST projects we were just speaking of, there were 15 million together. At this point, we've invested 14 million, and we have $1,010,000 in general remaining to execute on those projects. So, comparatively speaking, we're just a little bit beyond 80%.
And I want to commend our senior staff because they're the ones who are responsible for all of this. They're doing a great job, and all of the employees they have working for them too. So we just need to always appreciate our staff that we have with the JWSC. Do we need to have an executive session? Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.